Hey, we're back here with Chase Krogman, Justin Dirden. We're just talking a little baseball here. We've been talking about data. This time we're just talking about different things that might help you progress as a young player. Guys, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
And I'm curious on you two, because I've got to know you guys. How do you have fun then and now? Because now there's a different pressure besides winning. This is a job. It's a potential career. So now how does that? Because I think this helps our youth.
Yeah.
And understanding what it takes to get here, what it takes to try to maintain, be relevant, and then progress. Because we're at two different ages for the two of you, and two different routes to get there. So it's really neat to have two different stories. But the competition and you have to. How do you drive? How do you still have fun? Because at the end of the day, we talked about it at 13 years old. You have to have fun at 23 years old, right?
Yeah. You mean age-wise or like just being professional? Or
all together.
Yeah.
From being 13, how did you have fun? You obviously wanted to play the game to win, but what do you do now when you're trying to make a career in advance?
Me personally, I like being challenged. I would say that's where my fun kind of gets derived from. I would say at that age, they tell me to hit the ball on this side of the net, that side of the net, and the back side of the net, or something like that. And if I did it, that was my fun. I did something good. Great job. And I think that kind of bleeds into kind of where I am today as a professional as well. A new movement pattern, whatever it may be. This last year, I really worked on a hinge. So being able to stay in that hinge in my swing and finishing through it resulted in the good result, which we all like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So going through that process of that challenge of learning something new, seeing the result of it, I think is what made it fun for me, I guess.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Because you had success.
Yeah.
The success of
the
it.
process that I went through, the challenge of the process, gave me the result I wanted, which is fun.
And it was still really difficult.
Exactly. Oh, 100%.
And how much did you fail? Going through this process, and we're talking about, did you have fun even though you were learning and you were failing?
Looking back on it, and when I was in the moment, I would say no, obviously not, because that sucks.
Yeah, everybody hates it.
But looking back on it, yes, there's times in that one swing out of the 100 that you took that you did good. You're like, okay, let's progress forward from there. And I think, yeah, you can still have fun when you're failing, I think, but it's hard.
Nah, I don't believe that. Honestly, I'm sorry. Me personally, I don't think it's fun to fail. I don't think anybody enjoys that. We just watched the Super Bowl, and those guys on the Bengals side did not look happy.
No.
And to your point, and this is just that thought process. I think failure's not fun when you're out in the game, and that to me, I think there's a separator. This is my humble opinion. Work and doing the work sometimes ain't fun, right? It's the grind. That's the grind. You just got to embrace the grind a little bit sometimes, even when it's hard and you don't feel like doing it. And there's those, and you listen to professional athletes deal with that all the time, because the fun comes when you're in the game and the guy's at second base and it's the bottom of the ninth inning, and all of that hard work, all of that grind comes through. That's when it's fun. And you know that, right?
Yeah.
That to me is kind of where, and I think that's true at any level, right? The kids sometimes when they're in here at 9 and 10 and 12, you're like, I got to get another swing. This isn't fun. I'm standing watching, my buddy over here watch. It's like, okay, we'll get through it. Still a grind a little bit. Agreed?
Yeah, totally agree. Even now, he can probably attest. We're still doing that one more. That never goes away. No matter how, if you want to take a 4-pitch round, you can't end on a rollover to the red side. But going back to his question, as far as I would agree, failure's not fun. And there was times this year because I dealt with a couple injuries, got hit in the hand, and it was tough for me to kind of get it rolling again after that. And during that time, it's just I was struggling, so I wasn't having fun. But towards the end, I took it to myself. I'm like, all right, I'm not doing well. I'm not looking good at it. So every day after the field, I'm going to leave that negativity at the field. Next day, show up in a more positive mindset. And once I started doing that, things kind of turned around. I started putting balls in play and started feeling better. But yeah, I would say it's how you deal with that failure and how you deal with that negativity. That's what makes the difference between a guy that makes and a guy that doesn't.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
because that's a maturity level.
Yeah, and it's a perspective too on how you look at failure. Some guys are driven by it, and so do you look at failure and is it a success, or is it? It's not fun in the moment, like you said, but looking back on things, did it drive you to do something different? And so that's what I think what motivates a lot of people. Like the changes that I've had in the first 3 years of owning a business in this sport. We dealt with COVID right off the bat, and how do you adjust? I could either cry about it or I can go to work, right? And I had a lot of failure at that time, but it's led to some success. And so while in the moment, it's where you're at mentally and how tough are you in that challenge is huge. And it just doesn't stop in our sport, right? I mean, he's a freshly married. I mean, you've been married a year now, 2 years.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Don't let Abby watch, please. His wife played with my daughter, so I don't want her to know I don't know that. I was there. I didn't participate, and I did, but
quit digging the hole, bro.
Yeah, I probably did this when you just stopped talking. But you're now married now, and so how do you go through that season without being mentally tough? You have your own things to worry about. Whether you rolled over and went 0 for your last 10, you're trying to get out of that hurdle. You have to be mentally tough. I mean, you're missing your family, right? You guys are not playing in your home cities. So how mentally tough does all of this just work for you guys? The failures, the successes, the being away from family, being hurt, being an undrafted guy. How do those feelings, and what could you tell our young athletes and our young people watching? What can you encourage them through your experiences?
Yeah, that's the area of my game where I personally need more growth in. That's what that last season taught me. Looking back at the last end of the season was really tough because I wasn't talking to my wife a lot. She was working about the same time I was working, so we didn't talk a whole lot. I might have been struggling in the last few games, so I called up my coach, and he's my mental coach, and he's given me some tips here and there. And going back to what I was talking about earlier about the failure is failing isn't fun, but something that I had to change inside of myself is there's something in the sport that is fun all the time, whether you are failing or not.
Very good.
It's not that because I'm failing I'm not having fun, but maybe I look up and I said, that day wasn't really that bad. I had 4 missiles right at somebody. I went over 4. Okay, I did something good. I had fun that day. I hit missiles. Alpha a guy hitting 95 or whatever. So I don't think necessarily saying failure is fun, but I think there's stuff in the game to where it can still be fun. You fail 70% of the time or whatever it is. So there's still areas in the game that
you gotta find them, don't you?
Yes, you have to nitpick and find what is fun in a game where majority of the time you're failing. Yes, 100%.
Very good. I love that.
Yeah, I agree with that because every level you go up, the pressure the pressure increases, and you have to find, like what he says, you have to find what's fun. Like, I didn't, jumping from high school to pro ball, I skipped the whole college thing, so I didn't get that extra pressure that I was in college. I skipped that, so you go from playing in front of 15 people maybe to, high-end GMs, all these, and then you go to a stadium with a couple thousand. It's a different kind of pressure. And I wouldn't say it did I handled it pretty well, I'd like to say.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I handled it perfect, so I don't know if anybody does, but it's definitely you feel like all the eyes are on you. You're like, all right, if I mess up here, what's our farm director gonna think? The guy that's gonna control my career. But it's just at the end of the day, you just gotta go out and enjoy. We're playing baseball for a job, so it's you might have had a bad game, but it's I'd rather do that than sit behind a cubicle or.
Yeah, it's still we're playing ball, right?
Yeah, because it can suck at times. I'm not gonna lie. It's
right.
But
and I think that's true of everything, right? There's no job that's fun all the time. I don't care what you're doing. Yeah. That's just a reality. And so I think that's one thought process to me. We're playing baseball, guys.
Yeah.
I failed so much as a little kid. I got a chance to move on. I was I didn't mind failing. I didn't want to fail, of course. I always wanted to compete, but it was just we'll move on. And going back to his conversation, he had some guys that would leave the park and just forget about it. I was able to do that. I'd go have a good time right after the game, and that's how I had to let go, though. And so I like something that he said about his GMs. You're playing in front of GMs, and so you're worried about conversation, right? We have a lot of this from our youth kids after the car ride home. And, parents are that GM, at that time. And there's always going to be those pressures there with the parents in the background. Did you guys have, how was it like? Your dad played professional baseball. I'm not sure. I've met your dad a few times. But, how did your car rides home go? And what could you suggest to our parents to maybe help them out to keep that fun so you can reflect on your struggle for the day, but you can also flip that into how do we get better the next day?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to out my dad, but
Monty's gonna watch.
Sorry, Monty. Sorry for watching, but some of those car ride homes weren't the most fun. But that's where I get my competitive edge is from him. If I had a bad game when I was younger, I'm not going to say he was sitting there screaming at me, but he definitely wasn't. It wasn't a fun car ride home. And I know there's parents that can take it too far where they are yelling at the kid.
Agreed.
And I don't agree with any of that. But I mean, sometimes you need that tough love to build you. And he just knew, it was more of he knew what I was capable of. And when if I didn't put in the effort, if he that game he didn't put, I didn't do as well as I could have on my part. Not because of the game, but just I didn't put in the work. I wasn't trying hard, whatever it was. So, but I think that builds me, and he did it out of love. It wasn't out of, I need you to,
you knew their relationship there wasn't.
Yeah.
Dad's not getting on me because he's just mad at me.
Yeah.
He's trying to help me.
Yeah, he was. And sometimes he could have been better at, all right, yeah, I'm mad at you, or I'm upset with you, but at least you're trying. But there's times when he would tell me you didn't have a good game, but you put the effort in. So it was a good balance of. But I mean, I feel like if you don't have that, it's tough to have that competitive. But everybody's different, so I mean.
Agreed.
Some people don't need that.
Right.
But I feel like that built me as far as the athlete side.
Car rides on bad games, car rides home are never fun, you know what I mean? But I think it's definitely looking for the next day.
I wasn't the only one.
Yeah, exactly.
You ask mine.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Just taking it to the next day, just building off his point, why was the bad game? Why did it occur? Maybe it was a focus thing, an effort thing, or whatever it may be. And then just taking that the next day as a parent, just be like, okay, maybe it's a certain pitch or something. Let's work on that the next day or something. Everybody has bad games. It's going to happen. So just continue to work.
And I think it's tough because we go back and forth through these things, and I know we're going because we want to pull it back a little bit because conversation always I enjoy conversation. I don't mind these things, but your experiences, and let's come back, and I want to construct this back into this thought process because I still think we're dealing a lot of times with youth baseball, 9, 10, 11, 12, and I like the fact of what you said earlier about the blast motion and the things. And I think it's important that we have technology because I think technology is great personally. I like it. I like the hit tracks. I like the blast motion. I like the Rapsodo, TrackMan, all of it. I think it's great. And it is what is driving professional sports, or especially professional baseball, I should say. Correct?
Yeah.
So when do you guys think it is a good time, and you made mention of it a little bit, when do you think it should be integrated into the player's thought process? Because, and I will say this, why I ask, we were at the Prep Baseball Report showcase out at the Sports Barn with Kevin Mulder, and I talked to 11 dudes, and I mean these are dudes, okay? These are I was talking with Cameron Poe, with Jack Halabowski. We talked with, the names aren't coming to me, but we talked with, these guys are the top prospects in the area right now. And we were talking about data. And I asked them, how long did it take you guys to really understand how the information helped you grow? And I was kind of surprised, because they all said it took a little while for the information to really understand how it helps me progress. So when do you think it's a good time to move into that point?
In terms of giving them the technology?
Yeah. Really giving them the data, the information.
I would say I would say probably around the high school, college, type of time. In my personal opinion, I think we get hammered with data so much is because there's so much money getting thrown around. We have to understand why this one guy is better than this other guy to give him $1 million or whatever. So when you're talking about the top prospects and things of that nature, there might be some money getting thrown at them. So then we have to start analyzing it and classifying it and doing all these different things when you're talking about $1 million deals or whatever it may be. So I think in terms of obviously not every high school guy is gonna be a major prospect guy,
sure.
But I think at that time they starting to understand their bodies, how their body moves and different things of that nature, so they can really take that data and turn it into a process and how to make that better. So around that time.
Yeah, for me it was high school. I mean, before that, like we had my dad had a radar gun. Didn't really do a whole lot with it. He would chart it down for our team.
It was his information, wasn't it?
Yeah, just kind of help. He'd show us. I mean, we didn't really know what it all right, great, I'm throwing 68 at 13, whatever it was. It was good, but I did some showcases in high school. First one was going into my freshman year, and my opinion on showcases, that's where you get that data. At least that's where I got that data.
Right.
And I think it's definitely a benefit, but I think there's a difference between knowing, if you're going to go to a showcase, you need something to showcase. If you haven't developed your game, you're a sophomore in high school throwing 72, you got to be realistic about what college is going to see 72. So I think you need to build your game before you go into these showcases. But if you've developed your game, you feel confident about it, I think showcases are a good way to expose yourself. But at the same time, all right, I threw 80 here. The top guy was 83 at a freshman level. How can I beat that guy? And then it comes a little competitive thing. So I think there's different aspects of how you can view all that. But numbers are important as far as that goes, developing your game. So as a pitcher, velo, hitter, maybe your speed, exit velo, all that things. But as far as the real in-depth data that we get now, you can give it to the high school guys. Maybe they're smart enough to understand it. I wasn't.
Yeah, I still not. Yeah.
That was my next question. Yeah. I wanted to go back to when you first learned the technology to now what you're seeing. Do you even understand it now? Because I would imagine that the major league levels or professional level, that the information is on way different than what I can give and get. I would assume.
Yeah, I tried to spend some time this year when I was hurt to. Our scouting reports will show the pitcher's velo, their vertical break, horizontal break, spin, a bunch of different numbers, and I had no idea what any of it meant at the beginning of the year. But I went out of my way to talk to the pitchers, and I'm all right, so what is, because they all understand it pretty well because that's what they do. So I'm as a hitter, what does vertical break mean? What does all this mean? And I would say it helped, but at the same time I got into a bad habit of reading these scout reports, and it made these pitchers look like they were the best thing. It looked like they were playing Kershaws out there, and you get up in the box oh, this is another guy. So I think there's a balance of using that information to prepare yourself. At the same time, you still got to go out there and play.
Yeah.
So.
Still have to let your instincts kick in.
Yeah. Well, I think and I think this goes back to that first topic when we talk about 9, 10, 11, and 12-year-olds, okay? When we say that you have these guys and their information, as a coach, it can help me as a coach. If I got a 10-year-old team and I'm using hit tracks, and I say I put the blast motion, I can start logging information, can I?
Yeah.
And I think that does, and as an instructor, right? I have that 10, 11, 12-year-old. I can start logging information. This way I can take that information and help him understand what he's doing, correct?
100%. Yeah. I think it goes back to kind of what I said earlier. Give it to the coaches more than the players at that age. At least the instructors that then know what it's about and things of that nature, so that way they can tailor something towards them and actually get them better. So, yeah.
Yeah, me personally, I've been hitting with a hitting instructor here in St. Louis, Kevin Graham. We don't use the blast motion. We use the hit tracks, but we're very video-oriented. So after every swing, we have a video on the hit tracks. It's connected to the hit tracks, and it'll play back that swing you just took. And the biggest thing, we try to compare ourselves to the greatest hitters, Albert Pujols, Barry Bonds, all these guys. And we're trying to, all right, here's what they're doing. How can we get ourselves to move like that? And that's just what I've been doing. This is my first off season with them. It's kind of opened me up to the whole video analysis because, blast motion's great, but you can only see your numbers, so it's like you might have great numbers, but if you don't look like these guys, it's like, will it play in game? So
yeah, because you're strong. If you're strong, you're going to get those numbers. You're going to hear those dings that are sexy on that blast motion sensor. So because you're that guy, is it really what we're chasing? I mean, you're chasing the video because you want your swing to be 10 out of 10 consistent on all pitches. Breaking balls, sliders, fastballs, whatever, in, out, up, down. So that video, I think, is key. And I like kind of what you said, because I think at the end of the day, as somebody that's done recruiting as a college coach and then now trying to get kids recruited, one thing you want to see is growth. Yeah. And so data does give you that. Yeah. As much as I'm kind of against it at the 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, but 13 years old, when you start to change and you start to develop, I think it shows a sense of maturity to whoever's recruiting you, right? And say, look at my growth through these 5 years of my 8th grade to 12th grade year.
Here's the thing, and I'm going to end with this, and I want your guys' thoughts on this. This is what I see, and this is because from starting way back and what we're doing, I look at it this way. I don't like broad statements or broad, thoughts about something, and I go back. I'm not going to say it. He knows what I was going to go to. 9. But 9, 10, 11, 12, I think it's fine to use the technology. But as to your point, I think this is key. How are we as responsible coaches, parents, keeping the kids, letting them have the fun, enjoy the game, and utilize the information to help us teach them how to develop to where, as your point, I think, Chase, they're not fully developed yet physically. Mm-hmm. So they get to that 13, 14, 15-year-old. Now we can start helping them understand what these things mean and what we've been showing them in their body. Agreed?
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah, that's perfect. Again, I'm not I think technology is good. I don't think it's not good.
I agree.
I think you just you don't give an 8-year-old keys to the car or something like that. You know what I mean, or whatever.
That's a great analogy.
So because they don't know how to drive it. So, but
they can't reach the pedal.
Yeah. But just getting that information, giving it to them in a way that they can utilize it to get better. That's perfect. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I can't top that analogy. But,
right?
Yeah, that's a good one. But I agree. At the same time, I think the parents just need to know what they do understand about it and what they don't. And if they don't understand it completely, I don't think they should force that on the kid. But it is good to know at that age. It's more of just you have it, maybe study it, maybe not. Just
and if your instructor has it and the coaches, it's giving them the ability to look at the kids. And I think the video part of it especially, seeing the structure, helping that 9-year-old understand the structure of a swing. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where if we can get that information, we should use the technology to inform ourselves to where we can show this 9-year-old who we think has talent, has ability, has natural just gifts to swing a bat. And you hear that ding, and you're like, wow, that kid, that ball jumped off his bat, right? So that's, I think, the next thought process, personally, to what we're looking at and the conversation I think that we need to have.
Yeah, I think it's something that I liked about kind of what both these guys are kind of saying is that, one, you got to trust the instructor, that the information that's being given, that he is building your plan for your athlete, or he or she is building that plan for your athlete. And then he's having the conversation, he's saying your parent needs to know.
Right.
Why seek the data if you don't understand the data? So, he put his time in to understand a little bit of verbiage or technology to how to hit against certain pitchers. And, why should parents go out there and say, I want my kid to have a bat speed of this, I want to have exit speeds of 100, but they don't know how to get there and they don't know what the metrics are, what they mean, the definition of the metric. We get so confused on what launch angle is. Everybody wants to suggest that it's a swing upwards, and that's not what we're trying to teach. And so if you can just go out there, every vendor has their definitions of what their metrics mean. Yeah. Utilize it, read it, go to Google, YouTube, whatever. I think that's huge to understand. I mean, your coaches first of all have to know it, right? I mean, we cannot be expressing this material without knowing. And if you don't know it well, wait until you do. And then as a parent, don't chase it. Don't chase I'm going to pay him $100 an hour so that he gets on hit tracks and blast motion. Let's not do that unless you understand it, because at the end of the day, we get them one time a week. The parent has them 7 days a week.
Right.
So that parent, if they're working at home and trying to chase the next level, they need to really do a good job of also buying in. And it goes back to everything that we've all talked about, Shane and Jake and over there at the Bandits, I forgot his name. Charlie. Kelty. And everybody has said the same exact things. You got to trust the guys who are teaching your athletes.
Yeah.
You got to go home and repeat that message though, and they need to know it.
Guys, thanks.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
No, I appreciate you taking the time. I really do. It's because we're trying to help kids, trying to help coaches, parents. That's the goal with Youth Baseball Midwest. We want to be informative and help people understand what's going on in the baseball world. And you guys, congratulations, really, honestly. You're at a level that a lot of people aspire to, and I wish you success.
Thank you.
Yeah, you leave tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yep.
Tomorrow, and you leave the 19th?
The 19th,
yeah. Where are you guys reporting?
Glendale, Arizona.
Both?
West Palm Beach, Florida.
I knew the Astros were on there.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought you were going over to Arizona.
Doesn't that suck?
Dang it.
Yeah.
I gotta go to West Palm Beach.
Well, I'm not going to say that. I think Houston has a nice facility. Last time I was there, because that was kind of new. They banged a lot of trash cans and made things happen. But sorry, I had to make sure.
Oh, he said
just
that.
another one in the book.
He
I've got
said
another
that.
one in the book.
What are we doing,
well,
man? That's not right.
Your eyesight.
Hey, and listen, I thought about it, but I didn't.
I wanted to.
Because I'm a Dodger fan.
When he
Oh, that's tough.
when he got married,
That's
I wanted
all
him
right.
to bring a metal trash can as his wedding gift, and
Yeah.
You're actually thinking about that?
I did. My significant other wouldn't let me do it because it was
Good luck making the
obnoxious.
big leagues now.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Well, they're not going to watch
Yeah,
this
you
show.
just-
I
You
did
never
not.
know.
Never know.
Well, I
The
don't. I
GM's
don't
like, what is he
know
doing,
that.
man? What's
Well,
this
see,
guy? Oh my God.
That's why I don't see Justin anymore.
Yeah.
Because I got him a trash can.
Hey, jeez. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. I want to thank
Every once in a
Chase
while.
Krogman and Justin Dirden for joining us today. Appreciate them being part of the show. Look, comments, questions, anything that you have, please throw it down in the comment below there. We'd love to hear from you. It's always what this is about, conversation. We try to be as open and honest. We're just talking baseball. And so we hope that you enjoyed that. If you do, please hit the subscribe button, always. And hit that dinger, because that's what we do around here.
Doubles and dingers.
Doubles and dingers. That's right. Everybody have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and you hitters,
Keep it in
Keep
dingers.
in bounds.
that's
where
the
they
new
ain't.
school stuff, man.
Hit 'em where they ain't.
That's the new school. We always say hit them where they ain't.
Oh.
That's all
I
right.
wanted to see
That's
if they
old
knew.
school. We're old school. You got new
Hey, they're
school.
not in the
There you
stands, so I mean, out there.
go. Thanks. We'll see you next time.